Welcome, everybody, to the Advanced Selling Podcast, the longest-running sales training podcast history. My name is Bryan Neal.
My name is Bill Caskey.
Here every week for your listening enjoyment. Glad that you're here. Firing through our 17th year. Would it be our 18th year? I was getting confused with this. So if you start on, December 1st in 2000, then it's December 1st in 2019. Are you in your 20th year or your 19th year?
Well, it's kind of like this Thursday, next Thursday.
Oh, God.
That I have with my wife all the time.
Oh, my gosh. Don't get me started on that one. You know, I have that with is my kids and mostly my daughter. She can't get it.
It's female thing.
Is it? I'm like, it's not that difficult, is it? Whatever week you're in is this, and the week after that is next. Fair? What am I missing? I'm right, right, Bill?
Yes, right? I agree.
Whatever week we're in, then whatever day that's not today is this.
But the explaining of it is usually met with but still.
But still.
But still.
But still what?
We'll just agree to disagree. How about that?
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is such a good, we didn't even plan for this one.
No.
So if I have a game, so my kids play in a game this weekend, or on Friday, and the date is today's October 23rd, on Friday, October 27th. Okay. So they play a game this Friday.
That's correct. Fair?
That's correct. Thank you. Thank you. That's correct. If the game that they play was on November 3rd, they would have a game next Friday.
That's correct.
You with me? Uh-huh. I mean, what am I missing?
Well, but then there's the thing, like if it's Monday, and if you're talking about something that's going to happen Tuesday, that a week from tomorrow, it would be next.
It would be next, 100%, because you're not there, right?
Because you're not to this Tuesday yet, so it's always next. Yeah.
Yes, it's just not difficult. Oh, what a great that's a great little side riff.
Oh, good. Okay, so I've got another thing that I've noticed here.
Okay,
and I like to look at things through the eyes of, is this a relic or is this something that's modern? And I was at the gym the other day and I saw a guy in the locker room pull out a brush. And, you don't see brushes you do for women with long hair, but not in the men's room. It's more of a product thing now than it is a brush thing.
Yeah, you just use your hands, right? Product in your hands.
Just kind of tussle it up and put some product.
Oh, that's so funny. Oh, I go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, and I hadn't seen a guy, and this guy he had hair like you and I mean, a little bit, but he was like digging. I think it was more of a massage treatment for him. He was like roughly brushing his hair. I'm like, man, it's done. It's
aggressive, Chief. You're good. You look great, man. Gonna tear your scalp off, right? 3rd-degree burn, 2nd-degree burn on your forehead there. That's so funny because in the 80s, I mean, I don't know about you, I brushed my hair. I had a brush. It was a very special brush. That I asked for my mom always. It had a little squishy thing. You could press it down. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And then it had a tiny little like almost like the little ball on the top.
At the very top.
So it wasn't too. And boy, you sit there and getting the bangs feathered back. But yeah, I think that's a relic.
That's a relic. Here's another relic. I went out to the mailbox today to put a letter in, and I raised the flag.
That's a relic.
It's like, what day do you ever get no mail? Do you ever a deal where there's nothing in the mailbox? Of course not.
That's a thing. So my wife is significantly younger. I'll say significantly. She's 12 and a half, almost 13 years younger. She loves the mail. I haven't looked at the mailbox, put a letter in the mailbox for 15 years.
Oh, really?
Nothing for me.
All online.
She comes in and opens all the mail. She sorts it on the counter. Just doesn't want to miss anything. She opens everything and reads it. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I just, I don't want to miss anything. I'm like, it's junk mail. Yeah, but it's it's from our homeowners association. Yeah. I'm like, they're worthless anyway. Who cares? Anyway, that's funny. That's a relic. This would be a great little, because we're getting younger listeners now, Gen Z, millennial. It would be interesting at some point. The Gen Zs won't even know why there's a red flag in the mailbox.
Oh no,
I bet you. No. I bet if I asked my kids, do you all know what this is? They would go, no, I have no idea.
No, but I also bet that they will never make mailboxes without red flags.
Why would they?
That's just part of the
deal, isn't it?
Yeah.
So funny. Yeah. That's a good one. What a great
Okay.
little, relic or not relic. That's a good one.
So we'd love to hear from you. Do you have any relics?
Relics.
And don't, maybe that's a good t-shirt. Don't be a relic.
Don't be a relic. Relic or not relic. I'm a relic.
Because we don't want to be we want to be modern, and we want to reinvent ourselves.
Yeah, correct.
Be a relic with a plaid sports coat and striped pants,
And some relics are cool, which they'd call those what do they call those? They call those retro.
Oh, retro.
Or vintage would be a better word. Vintage is a cool relic, right? It's a vintage record player, vintage.
So we got two. We got two vintage relics: the brush and the mailbox flag.
So CPO. Did you have a CPO in college?
I did. In high school. Yeah.
See that?
And I've seen them. I've seen them also today, and they're not the same.
No, they're not
quite the same.
All right. We should probably talk about some sales stuff.
Yeah, let's do.
All right.
So here's a topic that, I'm always looking for topics that are sales adjacent, not just always, what do you say when you first meet somebody? I mean, I think those things are all good. And we do that virtually 90% of our episodes, but I'm always on the lookout for the ideas around achievement, around personal achievement, sales achievement, income growth. And I know that you work with a ton of people, as do I. And sometimes I wonder if you and I are up against a headwind that's almost impossible to navigate around. And that is the idea of the invisible pull that we run up against when somebody has a lot of upside potential. One of our clients has a lot of upside potential, and we work with them and we coach them and we train them, and they do very little with it. And it's easy to blame them, say, look, I'm giving you all the best stuff, and look at your associates here. They're skyrocketing with their business, and I'm wondering how much of that is an invisible pull that our friends and family and any kind of anchors that we have in our lives, metaphorical anchors, that are responsible for that lack of growth or that lack. And I'm looking at myself here too. This is not me on the perch looking down at people at all. I'm always looking at where am I holding myself back, maybe because of external influences. So I want to see what you thought about that. Yeah.
First, it's a phenomenal topic. So the easy answer for me is absolutely. Do we have invisible? And here's what I love about the way you brought this up today, because most people don't bring this up this way, is the word invisible. I think some people they think it's like super easy it's very clear, like, oh, well, this way because of that, or they've got a bad territory. It's like this external, but this is a much deeper thing. So first of all, I 100% agree that there's invisible forces on all of us that are either pulling on us or holding us back, or in some cases, those invisible forces might be pushing us too. Like,
That's right.
I'm trying to move myself out of this. And so it's a real interesting thing to think about. I think the first thing for me is, and I know when you teed this up in the pre-show, the 2-hour-long pre-show meeting we had, in that one, we had, you said, this is very typical for me, but we go into a group, there's 10 salespeople, 2 of them tend to draw our coaching and internalize it, and they tend to outperform the other 8.
Yeah.
And what is up with the other 8? Nick Saban, who's a football coach at Alabama, has a great record as a college football coach, has a saying, I'm going to paraphrase it: average performers can't stand to be around high performers, and high performers can't stand to be around average performers, because average people are intimidated by the high performing people, and the high performing people get annoyed that the average people want to stay there.
Yeah. That's
and
so true.
Isn't it? I thought it's really, really so true, isn't it? And so now you're on a sales team. And the dream for any VP of sales is to have an entire team of high performers. And I don't know that that's a reality. And in sales, sometimes I'm like, okay, it's okay to be, average if that's what you choose, right? If the math works and, you're working a territory and you're a steady Eddie climbing person and you're making decent income, you're okay. As long as you don't sit there at any one point in time and go, oh yeah, I want to be that Bill. Yeah. I want to make $1 million. And you and I both hear that. And you're like, no, you don't. You don't. You're saying that because you think that's what you're supposed to say, but you don't. Because you've shown no propensity to want to learn and grow and change things. My biggest definition of the invisible thing when I look at myself, like you said, we look at ourselves and look at each our stuff, is the attachment to the old way, the comfort and the attachment to the way that I've done it in the past is the biggest magnet, or that's the inertia that pulls me back in. I get rote, routine, comfortable. I know what I'm doing. And the moment I change something, it's very uncomfortable. I don't like that. So I run back to the old way.
Yeah. So that's it. That's a great, I mean, you've given a lot of jumping off points here. That's the best one, because a lot of what we are teaching our clients, you and I collectively, separately, but in the same vein, is new way stuff. And it doesn't have to be like radical new way. It could be something so simple. And some of us would say, well, that's nothing. That's just tweaking the grip when I stand up to the ball.
Yeah.
But for other people, it's like, oh my God, are you serious? You mean to say that? Are you kidding me? I could never. And so we think of it as a tweak, and other people think of it as a life-changing event.
Yes, totally. Yes.
And so maybe that's one of the questions that we can ask ourselves. I'm always looking also for what can we share with people as a suggestion to take action on this dilemma, if you have it. And that is, where are you bothered by the new way? AI is an example of that.
Yeah.
I mean, you and I have talked about how do we, should we be talking about AI? And I looked at Forbes, I looked at the top 10 business trends on Forbes the other day, and AI is in 3 of them.
Yeah.
And yet, I'm starting to use it more. I find it useful, but my clients aren't using it, most of them, because they don't know how, or don't know how it fits.
Yeah.
And so that's an example of a new way. And unless you're really going to say, look, I'm going to devote 3 hours of my time to studying AI and how I can use it in my business, you're probably just not going to use it.
No. And I think the reason then you won't study it is you'll find what you're looking for. Well, what I'm reading about is that, people don't really know. It's not really, you can't really trust it yet. It's not fully baked. And I'm just going to sit, I'm like, those are all just justifications to not explore it and start to use it, as it goes.
Okay. Here's another thing that you said I want to go back to, because I think it was really important. And that is this idea of choosing to be average, or choosing to be above average, or choosing to be $1 million producer. And that choice a conscious choice, or is it a default choice? Do I say to myself, well, you know what? No, I'm good. I'm good with 200 grand. I don't need to be in the 800 grand area. And I always want to know, okay, well, how did you arrive at that? And so is this something you've been contemplating for years, or did it just happen spur of the moment when I asked you the question and you just answered because it's like, shit, it sounds like 800 grand. I've got to work 4 times harder.
Right.
And of course that's not true, but the whole idea of, are we really choosing, or are we defaulting to a choice that is kind of made in the context of being pulled back and this invisible hand?
I think it's both. And here's why I think it's both. At some point, the person who's comfortable at 200 grand was making 40.
True.
And so as they grew and made different choices, they chose to get to a certain place where they said, okay, done choosing. I'm good here where I'm at. And again, there's no good or bad in this. It's like,
that's right.
Choose to make 200 grand or 2 million, don't care. It's whatever the choice is. So I think the first is to say, at some point you chose to climb, and then you stopped. You said, okay, the craziest example, not craziest, but like what you see the movie Forrest Gump's brilliant movie. And the scene where Tom Hanks is running. And he's running and he's running and he's running. He grows this big beard. He runs for years. He just runs across the country for years. And then I don't remember the exact line, but he says, and then one day I just decided to stop. And he just stopped. And one day I stopped. He just stopped running. He just chose to stop running. How far he didn't matter. Wayne Dyer talks about this in some of his talks. And he would go for a run on the beach, and people would ask him, how far are you running? He's like, I have no idea. I'm just going to run until I don't want to run anymore.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a thing to think about, is be cool with stopping, but choosing to stop. You're like, I'm 200 grand. I'm good. Yeah.
And also I think there's this, new wave of motivation that is hitting, which is, it's not all about radical materialism. It's not all about getting to the next level and sacrificing your family and your time and your personal well-being and your workouts. It's not about that anymore. And it kind of was for a long time, and maybe still is for the 20-somethings, but I look at my life and my income, and I'm not motivated to work 16 hours a day. I'm just not. I'm not in that space. But I also admire people who are, because I like, I was there once. That's cool. Not today. Yeah. And so that whole idea of choice, and I don't think there's anything wrong with choosing, you know what, I'm going to stay where I am right now. Yeah. But I may re-choose a year from now to say, I'm going to bolster this thing. I'm going to rise the level. And to me, that's part of just, we're personal agents of our own destiny. Yeah. And so the ability to choose now and say, I'm good with 200K, but next year I may wake up and say, not anymore. I need more.
And that's great. I love that. You always have the freedom to make a different choice or decision the next day, to go to the next level or whatever that is, or to stay put, or to call it off and say, you know what, I'm surrendering. I'm done. All those are did you see Cameron Diaz? Is that her name? No, Gwyneth Paltrow. Gwyneth Paltrow. Who owns Goop? Gwyneth Paltrow own Goop? Is it Gwyneth Paltrow, right? Or Cameron Diaz?
No, it's Gwyneth Paltrow.
Gwyneth. Did you see what she came out last week in the news? She said, when I sell Goop, I am going to disappear. You will never hear from me again in the public arena. When I sell Goop, I'm done. She's like, I had never, ever wanted fame. I didn't, it's fine, but it just does nothing for her. The money, even, she said, doesn't do anything for her. And she's going to sell Goop and disappear. We'll see if that really happens. And I'm like, you know what? But I hope it does. If like she moves away to some, small town in Montana and just lives a quiet life. Kat Von D, she's a real famous tattoo artist. She had a big show, million followers. She actually moved to Indiana. She moved to southern Indiana, this little bitty town on the river down by Louisville. Yeah, she's super famous in that kind of, edgy LA, lots of famous stars. And just like she's like, I'm done. She was in a little itty bitty town in Switzerland County, down by Switz City. Yeah, she does. Yeah, she bought it. She bought this like Renaissance retro house, fixed it all up, and she just lives there now.
Why not? What you can do, whatever you're going to do from anywhere, at least maybe not tattoo. Putting
Dave Chappelle lives outside of Dayton, in a little town, So I think all these things and Dave Chappelle walked away and then walked back, right? He walked away from all this stuff, all this money, if you hear a story, and then he walked back in and he walked back out when he wants. I just love where we're landing here and the freedom of choice and not dealing with the expectation of what I should be doing, and having the choice to do whatever I want in terms of performance or career or money or anything like that.
Yeah, and some of you who are listening to us will say, well, but you don't understand. I'm in my 40s and I'm doing really well, and I've got a company and I'm a VP of sales or sales leader, or I'm the top salesperson. And and it's not, but it's, and are you thriving in that role? I don't mean thriving financially either. I mean, do you can't wait to get to the office or can't wait to create? Are you in creative mode? Are you thriving? Are you prospering, not non-financially? And I think for a lot of people, the answer is no.
I agree.
I'm not thriving. I'm not growing, and I'm making good money, and I kind of feel stuck. And so what do I do? Maybe we should, go down that path here in subsequent episodes.
I would do that for sure. Yeah. I like going down the path.
Yeah. All right. Well, make sure that you link to us, advancedsellingpodcast.com/LinkedIn. Got 15,000 people we've built up over the last 17 years.
1,000 people a year.
And also check out the advancedsellingpodcast.com/insider. We've got a new program coming up here the first Friday in November. And I'm going to be actually shooting a video to talk about what that is. So I think this episode will come out the week of the 25th. So it'll be that Friday. So make sure you check that out. Bryan, I'm glad you made it through the last 24 hours.
Me too. Thanks. I feel loved.
Okay.
All right. See you next time. Bye.